By the end of this episode, you will understand why constantly showing up online isn't the only or even the best way to get noticed, why your website should do more than just sit there looking pretty, and how to start building a marketing foundation that keeps working even when you're not posting. Just a quick disclaimer before we start. My voice sounds a little different today because I'm dealing with allergies, so my nose is doing its own thing and my eyes are tearing, so if I sound a bit weird, that's why. But let's get started. So, you might think you have a visibility problem, but in reality, it's more of a everything depends on me showing up today problem. And that's an exhausting marketing strategy. 99.9% of service business owners who come to me and become my clients have built a marketing routine that only works when they are actively working on it. They create content, post on Instagram, on LinkedIn. They genuinely do their best to stay visible. But then life happens, and it happens, right? Client work, holiday, a family member who needs support. And this obviously means that you have less people discovering your business. And that's the problem that comes with building your entire client pipeline on platforms that require constant attention and that have short term visibility. Social media is not the enemy, right? I want to make that clear because I think sometimes people hear you don't need social media and assume that I mean delete everything right now and disappear. That's not what I mean. Social media is a good tool, it can be useful to help people discover you, to see your personality, how you think. And of course, it can create conversations, you can get collaborations, network with others. But it still has its limitations. You don't control what happens after you hit publish. You can create the best piece of content you've ever written, and still, most of your followers will never ever see it, and it's not even searchable. Because it's the algorithm who decides according to whether or not you engage before or after posting, if you have the right hook, etc. And that means you are constantly trying to win back attention from people who may already know you. Meanwhile, there are people every day searching for the exact service you provide. They are not necessarily scrolling social media looking for you or for a solution to their problem there, but they are typing questions into Google looking for answers to try and solve their problem. And this is where your website becomes much more powerful. Your website should not be a pretty digital business card that's collecting dust somewhere on Google. And a lot of service providers treat their website like a place where people go after they already know them from a referral, for example, or after a networking event. But your website can do so much more than that. To me, it's first and foremost the place where strangers discover you. That's how I got a stranger discover me and book with me while my domain name was still brand new. So basically, your website can answer your ideal clients' questions before they ever book a call. It can explain your approach, show your expertise, and help someone understand why you are the right person to solve their problem. It it's it can start the conversation before you're even involved, and you might even be sleeping at that moment. And that's the part many business owners miss. They think marketing means constantly going out to find people or that websites are dead since social media exists. But there's another way. And you can also create things that allow people to find you. And by things, I mean pages, content, blog. So you want to think of your website as your marketing home. Your website is where all your marketing efforts should lead back to. That's what I call the website centered approach to business and marketing. For example, a podcast episode can introduce someone to your ideas, a Pinterest pin can introduce someone to your content, A collaboration can put you in front of a new audience. And of course, a blog post can keep answering a question someone searched on Google for a month or even for years from now. So, your website is where people can take the next step, learn more about your services, download your free resource to join your email list, and more importantly, they can decide whether they trust you or not. And this is why I'm such a believer in building long-lasting marketing assets. An asset is something you create once and that continues helping your business more than a few hours after you've created it. Like I was mentioning a blog post. A blog post you write today can still bring someone to your website months or years later. A free resource that you have on your website can continue growing your email list while you are busy serving your clients. Like my client Rosella, who is a career coach. Her quiz, Should I Quit My Job?, keeps bringing her prospects into her email list. It's been going on for almost 2 years. We worked together at the end of 2024. But she already had her quiz, but we optimized her page, her website. So she barely promotes her freebie and she gets people into her email list just like that, on autopilot, so to speak. Because a well-written page can keep explaining your offer while you're walking your dog on a Tuesday afternoon at 3:26 p.m. or supporting a loved one who needs help at that moment. That doesn't mean you never create new content again, but it means you stop building everything on a treadmill where you have to start from zero every week. And maybe you might be wondering, yeah, I have a website or I don't have a website yet, but what if my website gets no visitors? And this is probably one of the biggest objections I hear. My website doesn't bring me clients. And in that case, it's easy to think websites don't work when that happens, right? But having a website doesn't mean having visitors if your website is not built to get found by Google in the first place, and therefore your ideal clients. Because if Google cannot find you, neither can your ideal clients, right? Like, you need to think of Google like a matchmaker. It sees your website, it sees your potential clients' queries that are what they are typing in the search bar, and if Google cannot understand your website is the answer to their question, it will recommend someone else. And once your website is optimized to get found, it also needs to speak to those strangers from the internet in order to make them understand why you are the right expert for them. So it needs the right words, the right pages, and content that answers the questions that your future clients are already asking. So let me give you an example. A coach might write a blog post about their personal philosophy because they find it interesting, and of course, they want to explain their values, etc. But their future client might be searching for something completely different. They might be searching for things like, how do I know if I should quit my job? Why am I stuck in my career? How can I stop feeling burned out? So the businesses that get found are usually the ones that understand what their clients are actually looking for online. Because you don't want to become a content machine, right? That's why I teach about repurposing content. And I think a lot of people are tired because they believe marketing means constantly producing more posts, more reels, following more trends on more platforms. But the goal is not to become a full-time content creator, like I was saying. But you want to create a simple system where your website helps people find you, understand you, and take the next step. You can still use social media, of course, and share your personality, create content. But instead of hoping every post turns into a client, you're building something underneath it all. Something that keeps working even when you're not online. And that doesn't mean neither that you will wake up tomorrow with hundreds of inquiries without doing anything, right? SEO does take time. So does building trust, right? But the difference is that your effort compounds instead of disappearing. The work that you do today can keep working for you and bringing people in and clients tomorrow. And that's the whole point. So, if you're wondering why your website is not bringing you clients right now, I wrote an article that walks you through exactly how to figure out what's wrong with it. You will see whether you have an SEO problem, a copy problem, or both, and what to fix first. You can find it linked in the show notes. I hope and trust this episode was helpful. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the blog post and in the next episode. Bye.